there, mate.
And your kid's wizard obsession doesn't work on broken boilers.
This is where Lending Stream come in. Short-term loans from £50 to £1,500.
Apply online, 6 months to pay it back. Take back control with a short-term loan from lendingstream.co.uk. Representative APR 1,271%.
Hello and welcome. You're watching India Global. I'm Gaurie Dwivedi. As always, we start with the top stories that we are tracking on the show. First up, India slams China over punk Arunachal Pradesh naming row. India says that Arunachal Pradesh is an integral part of India and rejects China's vain, preposterous attempts. US President Donald Trump meets Syria's al-Sharaa. In fact, US also lifts the sanctions on Syria, urges Syria to establish ties with Israel. Anita Anand becomes Canada's first Hindu foreign minister. Her appointment signals a possible reset in New Delhi-Ottawa ties, we decode. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer faces massive backlash over curbs that has been put on immigration by his government. Starmer under fire over island of strangers remark made by him. Microsoft lays off 3% of its global workforce. Microsoft's second biggest layoff hit 6,000 workers. In all, this year in 2025, over 50,000 techies have been laid off. The big story on the show that we are tracking, which is Arunachal Pradesh. And once again, China has reignited tensions by releasing a provocative list, renaming places in Andhra Pradesh. A statistic, a fact that's absolutely incorrect. In fact, it's falsely said that southern Tibet is a part of China. But India's message, in fact, has been absolutely clear. On our screens, we're putting that out. Arunachal Pradesh is non-negotiable part of India. Very clear messaging that's come in from India. Arunachal Pradesh is not a bargaining chip. It is, was and will always remain an inseparable part of India. The Ministry of External Affairs did not mince its words. It called China's actions both preposterous and vain. It condemned Beijing's attempt to rewrite reality through fabricated names. Viewers, this is the fourth such list in just 8 years. We're pointing that out. It happened in 2017. It happened at several times as well earlier. 2017, 2023, or 2021 and 2025. Each move has been nothing but an escalation attempt in China's map war strategy to assert bogus territorial claims. But it's not just names, it's also water. China's mega dam that's there on the Yarlung-Jiangsu River, in fact, is just another important aspect of what it's trying to do. It's in fact called Siang in India, which many see is also another attempt to weaponize natural resources. With renaming games and dam threats, China may seek to unsettle the border, but India's stance remains unwavering. Arunachal Pradesh is not a claim, it's a fact. Before I get in some of the big questions, I'm going to put out exactly what the External Affairs Ministry said when it junked all these baseless claims made by China. Let's put that out. The statement that India released, where it very categorically said that what exactly is it that it feels the baseless claims that are there. It goes on to say vain, preposterous attempts to name places in the Indian state of Arunachal Pradesh. Consistent with our principled position, we reject such attempts categorically. India has been saying that again and again. But why is it that China has been making this exercise again and again? I pointed that out. Several times it has happened. And we put out those big questions as to why exactly this is happening. First up, why is China actually trying to provoke India? Why is it making the same claim again and again? Will this impact the tentative steps that both countries have taken towards normalization. It started in the last couple of months, but will that be impacted? And lastly, a big question that we are asking, can China be trusted? It comes at a time when the Operation Sindoor took place, and right after that, China has come out with these preposterous claims. Even during Operation Sindoor, Chinese messaging and position was a wake-up call for many in India. Let me now put this question to both the guests joining me on the show. Lieutenant General Rameshwar Roy, who's a defense analyst. Also joining me is Mahesh Sachdev, former ambassador. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for speaking to me on India Global today. And in fact, General Roy, let me start with you. You know, this attempt to come out with this naming exercise again and again, it's nothing but optics. But one can't miss the timing at which this is actually taking place. We just saw Operation Sindoor, China's real colors, and now this another effort in terms of the optics that it's trying to put. How do you read China's games once again when it comes to Arunachal Pradesh?
Let's be very clear that there is nothing new in China's play. They have been mentioning this time and again. But by mere mention of it doesn't make any
No, General Roy, nobody can take that away. Absolutely not. But what I'm trying to say is, how do you read these repetitive attempts made by China?
See, right now China has tried to balance it out in a manner that should help Pakistan, because we are well aware of the relationship. Because whatever happened in Ladakh, eastern Ladakh, during Galwan in 2020, India has been able to strengthen the border area security in Arunachal Pradesh to a very, very substantial level. And therefore, I have reasons to believe that we are well prepared for
Absolutely,
to counter
sir.
any of the
Beyond
Chinese
doubt,
threats.
an Operation Sindoor and India's success should actually put any Chinese dreams, aspirations completely out of any possibility whatsoever. So there is no doubt in my mind or that of any Indian in terms of India's military capability. But, Mr. Sachdev, let me ask you this from a diplomatic point of view. The fact that India and China, after Galwan, they had a long stretch, 4.5 years, but there was a complete both sides in terms of any diplomatic relations, there was no progress whatsoever. A thought started about 6 months back, 7 months back actually. Do you think that will get impacted by China's messaging, these recent efforts? One, how it took a position in favor of Pakistan during Operation Sindoor, following it up with these messaging that's coming in right now.
Thank you, Gaurie. Glad to be with you on this channel. I think you asked a very important question, and both India and China are ancient civilizations, and we do not act in a hurry. India has reacted fairly categorically, denouncing and rejecting these changes in Chinese nomenclature of the cities or towns in Arunachal Pradesh. And one should point out that Chinese language, being particularly nuanced, has no proper nouns. So a name like Gaurie cannot be written in Chinese script. It has to have a phonetic uh, version of or equivalent, and it may become Gao or it may become something else. My name has also been very pronounced differently because it cannot be written as Mahesh Sachdev. Be as it may, Chinese current motives in this direction could be due to various reasons. I could also link it to South Asian Federation Football Cup that is taking place in Arunachal Pradesh right
Okay.
now, with Nepal, Bangladesh, and India, and another country, I think Bhutan,
Yes.
taking part. Then you also have recently concluded US-China trade talks, where Chinese seem to have got some headway by having Trump to agree to lowering the tariffs.
Okay.
So now China is back. Then again, it may be intended to keep us off balance while
No, no, sir,
we
but
have
you
had
can't,
a
no, no. I take what your
ceasefire.
point is, sir. The only thing is you can't throw India off balance by coming out with the same trick every couple of years. It's the same trick that they keep coming out with. It has, forget diminishing, it has no returns whatsoever. But I come to the other question that I asked in terms of the big questions that I put. And General Roy, I want to ask you this. Can India actually trust China? Can China be trusted by India, given what all has happened, given its repeated efforts and attempts in trying to once again peddle the same narrative again and again?
Gaurie, China can never be trusted, and our tragedy is that we have two big neighbors, one side Pakistan, one side China, and both are, I would say, in many ways, equally untrustworthy. Whatever they would say, they will just say the opposite the very next day. And in case of China, we have seen it time and again. In case of Pakistan also, we've seen it China time and again. And now that they both are together, I would always take any such statement as something, where they're trying to just indicate to us that, look, we are sort of going to stake claims on the eastern side of India, whereas Pakistan is already into claiming the POK, and we have one kind of a crisis going on over there right now with the Op Sindoor also. So as far as I'm concerned, the Chinese always have maintained one thing, that let us leave the border issues out and carry on with the rest of the relationships. And we have always maintained that no, border issue is going to impinge on our security in times to come. Therefore, that is also part of our overall consideration as to how much can we go ahead with the China. And Ambassador is here to sort of give more views on it.
Yeah,
But
Mr.
as far as
Sachdev,
the
you want to
soldiers'
come in
views,
there, sir?
yeah. But a soldier's view is that we have balanced out both the sides and we are prepared for both these threats. We call it, we are always prepared for 2.5 front war, which means Pakistan on one side, China on the other side, and half front we give it to the terrorism which is going on in India. And therefore, we are
So
all
there is no
ready
doubt
as far
in
as
my
security.
mind, and in fact, Operation Sindoor will be, in my opinion, taken as a case study in military academies around the world. There is no doubt in my mind or that of any Indian. But my question was just around the fact that given the trust deficit that already exists between Beijing and New Delhi, come these tricks, repeated tricks, same antics. Mr. Sachdev, I want to ask you this. Given the trust deficit, do you think this will just heighten that deficit that exists between the two neighbors?
I think it would certainly do that. In any case, Chinese had no particular reasons to get into this at the current juncture, except when trying to tease us, trying to show that not only do we have differences with Mr. Trump, but we also have continuous differences with Chinese themselves. So our attempt to uh, sort of count Mr. Trump and United States on in our corner is they try to poo-poo it. Uh, I think there might be these might be the motives, but I
Okay.
think we have done it right. We have taken a strong and strident view, rejecting it,
Yes.
and that settles the issue as far as we are
Okay.
concerned.
All right. I'm going to leave it there, gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining me on India Global. Well, viewers, bottom line, as far as this is concerned, there's nothing new as far as China's antics are concerned. Repeated tricks continued several times. The fact is, Tawang Monastery in Arunachal Pradesh is the second largest Tibetan monastery after Lhasa. It's where the 6th Dalai Lama was born, and with his Holiness, the present Dalai Lama's advanced age, the Communist Party of China is prepping to ensure that it gets to decide the next Dalai Lama, not the people of Tibet, not according to their traditions. but it cannot ignore the Tawang monastery and the role it may play in deciding the next spiritual leader of the Tibetan people. But China cannot have what doesn't belong to it, and that is Arunachal Pradesh. I'm going to slip into a very short break. Coming up on the other side, India rejects Trump's India-Pakistan Truce claim. We decode what's really the actual story there. Stay with us.
Summer's heating up with People's Postcode Lottery.
Oh my God!
Because in our June draws, you could win a share of £17.8 million, including our special summer prize, where players and an additional 50 lucky postcodes will each win £10,000. Sign up before midnight on the 31st of May, and a share of £17.8 million could be yours, but only if your door is in the draw.
This year marks the 80th anniversary of VE Day, and to commemorate this historic occasion, we're pleased to announce the official release of a new 50p coin. Celebrating the day that marked the end of World War II in Europe and brought long-awaited peace to our nation, this official new 50p coin has been plated in 24-karat gold and can be yours for the introductory price of just $2.99. Postage is free. Demand for this new 50p coin is certain to be high, so call 0800 988 1468. Head to veday50p.tv or scan the QR code on screen to secure this valuable keepsake for you and your family. The stunning design features a young couple embracing in the streets while the VE Day celebrations continue around them. This 50p is the first in a new series of 50p's highlighting the key moments and events of VE Day. So don't delay. Head to veday50p.tv now.
No child should suffer the torture of trachoma, but so many are in pain right now. Nananga's lashes have turned inwards. They rip and tear away at his eyes. Pomelo's sight could be gone forever. He's just 3 years old. Kofanga screams for his mother. His eyes are so infected that he can't even see her. For so many children in the world's poorest countries, trachoma is torture. It's a painful infection often spread by flies, and it's destroying children's eyesight. But it could be stopped if you help today. By calling 0800 038 4926 and giving £1 a week to Sightsavers, you can help make sure children get the treatment they desperately need. You'll help us bring them the medicines and the care that can treat infections. And that means you'll be helping to save children from the torture of trachoma and a life of blindness. Please help us reach them. Call 0800 038 4926. Text C13 to 82727 or go online and give just £1 a week now. Because we need you to help save the sight of children like Nananga. We need you to help save them from the torture of trachoma.
The war drums have thundered across the line of control for 3 relentless days. Operation Sindoor was in full force. In the skies above, Indian jets carved arcs of defiance. Pakistan's air bases reeled under precision strikes, their commanders scrambling their bluff called. Then claim from a gilded podium in Washington, President Trump declared he had stopped the war. In New Delhi, the mood was steely. No, said the Ministry of External Affairs, and a single word followed by a heavy silence. They had the call logs, the timestamps, the missile telemetry, the bloodied soil, the 3:35 p.m. hotline that Pakistan had begged to reconnect. Not a whisper of trade, not a breath of diplomacy, only the hard, unyielding edge of Indian resolve. It wasn't Trump who brought peace, it was the force of Indian arms, and the echo of that truth now thundered louder than any speech. I'm going to first play out that soundbite of External Affairs Ministry spokesperson. We come back and decode why is it that Trump said what he said.
From the time of Operation Sindoor commenced on 7th May, till the understanding on cessation of firing and military action on 10th May, there were conversations between Indian and US leaders on the evolving military situation. The issue of trade did not come up in any of these discussions.
Brahmachalani joins me live for On the Broadcast, strategic affairs expert, to decode why exactly Trump came out with those claims. Mr. Chilani, you've been decoding Operation Sindoor. What do you make of Trump's claims that have been completely rejected by New Delhi?
It's important to note that Trump was reading from a script both times when he spoke about using trade as leverage against India to halt India-Pakistan military hostilities. He was not speaking off the cuff. And one wonders why he would do that, because even if you go by what he claims to have done to stop India from continuing its military operation, he has sent a message to New Delhi that the US is not a reliable partner of India. It's not even a reliable defense partner, because if what he says is true, that trade can be used as a political weapon against India, he's sending a message to India, don't depend on the US. Isn't that so? So he's undermining America's own vital relationship with India. It's so odd that the President of the United States, on 2 straight days in a row, has made a claim that he used trade as leverage to get India and Pakistan to halt military operations, which in effect means that he used trade as leverage against India, because it was India that they were seeking to pressure. So it's very odd that Trump would send a message to New Delhi that undercuts America's own diplomatic objectives vis-a-vis India.
That's an important point you're making, which brings me to ask you, at a time when India-US ties, whether it is on the economic front, whether it's in the geopolitical front, are expanding, and the scope is in fact limitless if one were to talk about the potential. What do you think would be the thinking in Trump administration? Because the fallout will be there, isn't it?
That's a good question, Gaurie. And I think that on one hand, the Trump administration, when it took office and in the last 3-4 months before the India-Pakistan military hostilities began, it appeared to be India-friendly. And suddenly when this India-Pakistan confrontation began, the tone in Washington changed somewhat on the second day. Initially, J.D. Vance effectively green-lighted India's strikes on Pakistan by saying that as long as India's retaliation does not lead to a full-fledged war, he effectively said it was okay for India to go ahead. And then the same J.D. Vance later, towards the end of second day of the military operations by India, said, telephone Prime Minister Modi, and he has said publicly that he did call Prime Minister Modi.
Yes.
And he pressed Prime Minister Modi to cease military operations. The question is, what triggered this change of thinking in Washington? Apparently, it seems that, and I'm going by what US media accounts are saying, in mainstream US media, and the mainstream US media is not very Trump-friendly. They are pretty hostile to the Trump administration.
Yes.
But they're all saying the same thing. Obviously, they have been briefed by the establishment in Washington. They are saying that when India struck the Noor Khan air base in Rawalpindi,
yes,
it set alarm bells ringing in Washington, because it meant that India had the capability to knock out, to decimate, in fact, to decapitate
yes,
Pakistan's nuclear command and control.
Indeed.
And I think that to save Pakistan from India's military wrath, from India's military reprisals,
yes,
the Americans intervened.
Okay, in fact, stay with me, Mr. Chilani, because I want to now address another very important story that's coming in. The fact that Bangladesh is now going to get an IMF bailout of $1.3 billion. Well, one would think that when it comes to radical Islamists taking over, IMF would exercise caution. But in the last 7 days itself, we have seen 2 IMF bailouts, one to Pakistan, now to Bangladesh, being given at a time when these countries have really gone from, in fact, there's been a complete downslide in terms of any of the parameters that the IMF or multilateral institutions would like the governments to hold accountable to. Mr. Chidani, how do you make of this bailout that's just come in? And in fact, we can put that out for our viewers to understand the significance of this story right now. What do you make of the fact that there is now a $1.3 billion IMF bailout that's being given to Dhaka?
For the Bangladesh interim regime led by Yunus, this is a real shot at the arm because since that regime took office in August last year, foreign investment flows into Bangladesh have declined significantly. And Bangladesh is quite cash strapped at the moment. It's looking for foreign loans, and the IMF bailout will help Bangladesh to secure loans from elsewhere, including from ADB, from Japan, and other places. So getting an IMF bailout at this stage effectively means that Bangladesh's economy is being bailed out.
Exactly.
By the US, because
yes.
the US has an effective veto in the IMF board.
Indeed.
And no decision can be taken by the IMF board without Americans being on board.
Absolutely. They are on board with this. I'm going to leave it there. Pramachilani, appreciate you joining me on India Global. And in fact, we're talking about Pakistan and Bangladesh. Well, viewers, Pakistan's top diplomat in Dhaka, Syed Ahmed Maroof, has vanished, just like Pakistan's economic stability and Bangladesh's patience. The man who's tasked with building bilateral ties instead reportedly found himself getting tied up in an entirely different kind of foreign engagement, one involving a Bangladeshi woman, a viral MMS, and a first-class ticket out of Dhaka. According to Pratham Alo, the Bangladeshi newspaper, Maroof is now on leave. And what was once a diplomatic mission has now turned into 50 Shades of Shahbag with the internet ablaze. Meanwhile, Deputy High Commissioner is now filling in. Embarrassments galore as far as Pakistan is concerned. A quick break. We come back with more on the other side. Stay with us.
What are you so happy about?
I've just made a claim. We could be owed thousands.
My claim group?
Yeah, the cars we bought on finance, well, the lenders could have charged hidden commissions. It's dead simple to claim.
Hey, I had 2 cars before we met.
Go to My Claim Group. You could be owed thousands in hidden commissions from cars you bought on finance since 2007, even if you can't remember the details.
Done.
Simple, eh?
Go to My Claim Group now.
Claims made simple.
This year marks the 80th anniversary of VE Day, and to commemorate this historic occasion, we're pleased to announce the official release of a new 50p coin. Celebrating the day that marked the end of World War II in Europe and brought long-awaited peace to our nation, this official new 50p coin has been plated in 24-karat gold and can be yours for the introductory price of just $2.99. Postage is free. Demand for this new 50p coin is certain to be high, so call 0800 988 1468. Head to veday50p.tv or scan the QR code on screen to secure this valuable keepsake for you and your family. The stunning design features a young couple embracing in the streets while the VE Day celebrations continue around them. This 50p is the first in a new series of 50p's highlighting the key moments and events of VE Day. So don't delay. Head to veday50p.tv now.
Vista Health means fast access to scans. Vista Health means rapid results. Vista Health means convenient locations. Vista Health means affordable pricing. At Vista Health, we know what your health means to you, and that's why we provide fast access to MRI, ultrasound, echocardiogram, and other health scans, without the need for a referral or medical insurance. Get the answers you need. Book your scan today at vistahealth.co.uk.
I think that there's something that's always there that I just need to uncover. Like, I know I'm going to get there, but I have to be patient with myself. That's probably the scary part for me. And it's okay, like, if you completely pivot and change. You know, you have to be comfortable with that.
From interesting tech startups to industry-leading companies, politics, sports, culture, curry, cricket. Oh, there's so much to talk about. Like me, if you too thrive on interesting conversations, this is a show you cannot miss. Watch this space to know more about all matters and all people that make Britain what it is today. Out of Britain, with me, Radhika Iyer.
President Trump is trying to change the political landscape of Middle East, and that's what his desert diplomacy is all about. And while many feel his first trip overseas is heavy on optics, there could be some substantial movement on geopolitics as well. Well, for starters, he has begun normalization with Syria. After a quarter of a century, Syrian President al-Sharaa, who went by the name Abu Muhammad al-Julani as a globally designated and a US designated terrorist, is suddenly now in Trump's good books. And American sanctions are likely to be lifted, and along with that, EU sanctions will also go away. But as Trump dangles this carrot, he wants to have some big gains, from Turkey to Russia to Syria, of course. And let's put that out as big questions that we are asking. But first up, I want to play out this soundbite of Donald Trump as he hopes to make those big gains in Syria.
I will be ordering the cessation of sanctions against Syria in order to give them a chance at greatness. Now it's their time to shine. It's their time to shine. We're taking them all off, and good luck, Syria. Show us something very special like they've done, frankly, in Saudi Arabia. Okay, they're going to show us something special.
The big questions that we are asking, is this really a big step towards normalization with Syria? The fact that sanctions have been lifted, EU sanctions would also, of course, as I said, go away, and that will ensure that the financial helplines will start. The second big question that we are asking, will Syria now actually join the Abraham Accords? Let's not forget, a lot of this has been tied to US's policy with regards to Israel. Trump may not be stopping over at Tel Aviv, but Israel is a very large part of the entire trip. And third question that we are asking is, what does Trump's Gulf diplomacy really hope to achieve? The big takeaways in terms of behind the optics, behind the red carpet and the big fancy jumbo jet, what really is it hoping to achieve? Daniel Brock, who's a senior journalist, joining me from Washington. Anjana Sankar, who's a senior journalist, is joining me from Abu Dhabi. Daniel, let me start with you. The fact that there is now normalization of ties between Syria and US would probably be unthinkable just a few months back. How do you see this, and what, according to you, Trump is really hoping to achieve by opening the financial taps once again for Syria?
Well, I think a couple things are possible. I'd start by saying that ties are not normalized yet. He hasn't talked about restarting formal diplomatic relations, and he's just promised to remove sanctions. And as we know, Trump can change his mind often. So we're waiting to see exactly what's going to follow. But I think that the main thing he's trying to achieve...
Daniel, a lot of people are expecting that lifting of sanctions will probably be starting of the process towards normalization. But go ahead, make your point.
True.
Yeah, go ahead, make your point.
Yeah, that's true. It could start that process, certainly. I think the main thing he's after, per what you were saying earlier, is to try and get Syria into the Abraham Accords. So he's talked a lot about trying to get Syria to recognize Israel, to partner with Israel. And I think he hopes that by meeting with Syria's new president, he can kickstart that process. And removing the sanctions is a show of faith. I think he's also hoping, just in general, for a more stable Middle East. And he's hoping that his kind of personalistic approach to diplomacy can have that effect everywhere, but including when it comes to Syria.
In fact, Anjana, you want to come in there in terms of Trump's desert diplomacy? There is a lot really on the platter. and how much do you think he would really be able to achieve, and what would be the big things that he would like to focus on?
See, definitely when it comes to Syria, I would like to mention that Syria has, a country that has been in a civil war, rattled by a civil war for more than 13 years. This lifting of sanctions means this is a completely new chapter opening for Syria. This is a, renaissance in a way for Syria, because there are like hundreds and thousands of Syrians who are ready to come back. They've started already that journey back home. And this would mean that the very essential infrastructure, the revival of the economy would all start. This is a starting point for Syria. So I think this is a big step for the country, and that is why we are seeing all these big celebrations on the street in Syria. And for Trump, I think this whole foreign trip, starting with Saudi Arabia, as he has done in his first term also, he started with Saudi Arabia. I think this is a clear showcasing of Trump's art of the deal. That's what he wants to do. And I think Trump has done a huge, gamble with this tariff war that he had started with countries like China. So it is essential for him to get these big investments.
Anjana, make no mistake, this is also a gamble. I mean, nobody is saying that this is a win right now. This is a gamble. Make no mistake, the man that he's trying to now, of course, he hasn't normalized, but the man he is now throwing this big carrot to is and was a globally designated terrorist not so long back. So this is not just about Syria. There is, of course, a lot of moving parts to this. But Daniel, in terms of the in terms of the US-Saudi Arabia relationship and the US-UAE and Qatar relationships, of course, the other factor that's really likely to weigh heavily is the Israel factor, isn't it?
Definitely. Trump, Israel looms over this entire trip, right? Even if he doesn't actually go to Israel, the Israeli-Palestinian fighting, Israel's war in Gaza is the main thing happening in the Middle East right now. It is the main source of instability in the area right now. And so it's absolutely going to be on everybody's mind. Now, we know Trump wants to bring some sort of end to the fighting. It's a part of, as we've been talking about, the art of the deal. We also know that he wants to expand the Abraham Accords to include Saudi Arabia in particular. That's kind of the big prize on the board. And so I imagine he sees this trip in some ways as an opportunity to hopefully move the ball forward in some way on that in order to try and get Saudi Arabia closer to normalizing ties with Israel. Now, whether that will succeed or not, we don't know, because I don't see anything in this trip agenda that's going to get Israel to withdraw from Gaza, as Israel looks more and more set to actually colonize Gaza and go in and begin to set up settlements. Of course, we don't know what's going to happen in Gaza yet. That's all, just kind of conjecture. We're still uncertain what's going to happen there next. But I do think that that's a huge item right now. That's a huge thing that Trump is thinking about.
Indeed, he may not be, as I said, stopping over at Tel Aviv, but that is likely to be a huge part of this entire exercise. Which brings me to ask the one final question to both of you. A lot of people feel this is essentially a business trip with, maybe diplomacy thrown around a little bit for the correct optics. Is that how both of you see this, or do you expect big geopolitical wins for Donald Trump from this? Anjana, you go first.
This is definitely, as I said, the optics is very clear. I believe that this trade is definitely on top of his agenda because there is turmoil back home. There is economic turmoil. So he needs to bail that out. He needs big investments for his country. And he is looking at his biggest partners in the Middle East region, like Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar. So I would think that is definitely top. But, being the US president and as all the regional conflicts that we see here, Donald Trump has not been successful in finding a peaceful solution for the war that's happening in Gaza.
Which he wanted to end in 24 hours, yes.
Yes, and he also said the same thing about Ukraine and Russia. That hasn't happened. And we also saw the statement that Donald Trump made regarding the India-Pakistan escalation that we saw, for taking total credit for mediating and ending a nuclear war, a prospect of a nuclear war, as he mentioned. So I think diplomacy, I don't think Donald Trump is going to differentiate between or draw a clear line between diplomacy and trade there. Because he needs to see results in the Middle East.
Very quickly, Daniel, how do you see this? Business with a little bit of diplomacy thrown in between?
First, I just want to quickly correct something I said earlier, which is that we haven't seen evidence that Netanyahu himself has plans to go in and put in settlements in Gaza. Some of his allies are talking about it, but I wouldn't actually bet on that happening right now. So I want to retract that. In terms of this being a business trip, I mean, we've all seen the gift that the Qataris gave to Trump, right? The large Boeing 747, the plane. We know he has many real estate interests in this region. We know that he loves the pomp and circumstance, and certainly the Gulf leaders are more than capable of rolling out that literal red carpet for him. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if shortly after this trip, we see announcements of more business deals involving Trump.
All right, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much, both of you, for joining me on Trump's desert diplomacy, and it's still early to decide whether it's a win or not. Well, viewers, as we decode Trump's desert diplomacy, make no mistake, Donald Trump has also legitimized extremism. It's not clear if this unusual step of him ensuring that all Syrian sanctions are removed will actually bring peace. But one thing is certain, this is central to American interests in the region. To get Turkey to recognize the sovereignty of Syria, that will ensure that Ankara doesn't continue to play a major role in Syria and the Middle East. It will also ensure that the last of the Russian presence in the region gets a major hit. And it is also going to ensure that versions of Abraham Accords may be signed between Saudi Arabia and Israel, and even others as well, maybe get finalized. In return, if Trump gets more of those MOUs and business possibilities from his Arab friends, his domestic audiences will validate some of these controversial moves, and that is what is going to matter the most to Donald Trump. I'm going to slip into a break. Coming up on the other side, Canada's Carney unveils major cabinet overhaul, and Indian origin Anita Anand could be at the center of ensuring that the India-Canada relationship recovers from its lows.
When I woke up, they said, "Alyssa, you've got leukemia." We found out that the chemo wasn't working.
Cancer is still the biggest killer of children in the UK, but innovative new treatments could help beat cancer for more children like Alyssa.
I'm cancer-free now.
Text, call or search to give £3 a month and help build a new children's cancer centre at Great Ormond Street Hospital. So together we can save more lives.
Don't miss Sharp's half-price spring savings. Get Sharp's bespoke fitted furniture for every room, from living spaces to home offices and bedrooms. Many ranges are now half price, including our must-have Manhattan range. Our exclusive Space Plus system means we won't be beaten on space. Plus, you get our 15-year guarantee for total peace of mind. Refresh your home with Sharps this spring. Book your free home design visit today at sharps.co.uk.
What's wrong with the car? It's okay, lads. I'm with the AA. Bombay mix.
Because the AA has more expert patrols across the country, you'll be back on the road in no time. No wonder more people choose the AA. Join today.
I urgently need to ask for your help on behalf of animals at risk right now.
With the pandemic came a surge in pet ownership. And sadly, we're now seeing a serious rise in neglect, cruelty and abuse. Our services are being stretched to the limit. To make matters worse, our costs are soaring too. But we refuse to let animals suffer. So please, act now to help rescue the growing number of animals who've never needed us more. Please call or text the number on screen now to give £2 a month to the RSPCA. In one of the toughest times we have ever experienced, your gift will make all the difference to animals. You could help provide more life-saving treatment, food, shelter, and the loving care that many have never known.
We know there are millions of you who, like us, care deeply and won't stand by while animals are suffering.
We have to reach those trapped in a life of abuse and neglect before it's too late. Because for many, the RSPCA is their only hope. But we can only come to the rescue with the support of people like you. So please, will you help us be there no matter what? Call 0800 313 4392 or text RSPCA to 78866 to start your monthly gift today. Thank you.
I'm going to now turn attention to Anita Anand, Canada's first Hindu foreign minister, who is now entrusted with ensuring that Canada's relationships, important ones, are robust and remain so during an uncertain Trump era. Well, Indo-Canadian Anita Anand is now the country's foreign minister, and this was announced by Mark Carney as he unveiled the cabinet. On your screens are those visuals that came in earlier of Anita Anand being sworn in. Let me now get in Dean Baxendale to talk more about. He's a senior journalist joining us from Ottawa to talk to him about what does this mean in terms of the responsibility that many expect now lies on Anita Anand's shoulders to repair what happened during Trudeau era. Dean, I know that Canada's important relationships also include the US being one of them, most important, along with China. But given the fact that Anita is Hindu of Indian origin, there is a lot of expectation that she will repair what was completely broken during the Trudeau era, the India-Canada relationship.
Yes, thank you, Gaurie. Yes, this is an incredibly important appointment by Prime Minister Mark Carney. Quite frankly, in my estimation, the most important cabinet appointment. Putting a Hindu Canadian in place sends a clear signal that we're not virtue signaling anymore in terms of our international diplomacy. We're putting qualified Canadians. Anita has 3 degrees, one from the University of Toronto, one from Oxford, and one other. And it speaks to also, she was born in Halifax, Canada on the East Coast, to parents, originally from India. And I think this is a significant appointment. So she has other portfolios before this, i.e., most importantly, Minister of Defense, where I think, unfortunately, after that, Justin Trudeau kind of sidelined her when she should have been on the stage here. So
we're playing out some of her important appointments on the screens, whether it's about training Ukrainian soldiers, or whether she was some of the other important assignments. This, of course, is the single most important assignment of her political career so far. But Dean, as I said, important relationships now rest on Anita's shoulders. What, according to you, should be her first set of priorities when you talk about the India-Canada relationship? It's recovered from the nadir, but still a long way to go.
Absolutely. I think, again, we have to go beyond simple soft power diplomacy, whereby we're coming out and saying nice things in public about our relationship and where it should move with India. India is going to play a central role in global development over the next 50 years. And it is a democracy. And we need to align ourselves and work with the Indian government where there will be reciprocity, both in cultural exchange, but most importantly, business and trade opportunities that bind our 2 nations together. We have the largest Indo-Canadian populations outside of India. And there are 3 million in Canada. So Anita Anand has a tough job. India is an important ally. And in juxtaposed, we need to figure out what we're going to be doing with China and how we engage with China. Of course, there's been a number of skirmishes between India and China over the past few years. and everyone is, looking towards India as being a buffer and being that opportunity where we can partner with a new and emerging economy. So I think Anita Anand's, job is immense, but I think she has the capability,
Yes.
understanding, and perspective to get it done.
Indeed, and given the realigned world that we live in, trade is also now a very important part of geopolitical relations. Do you see Anita also following that route, viewing a lot of these relationships through the trade prism, maybe bolster the India-Canada trade relationship, which could be the gateway to a stronger bilateral relationship?
Absolutely. Canada started to shift, in about 4 years ago with the Asia Pacific Foundation setting out a new framework. The government itself set out a new framework on the, the Indo-Pacific Alliance, and therefore, yes, our movement towards India was already being cast. Yes, I see that as being a critical part. There is nowhere but up for our relationship to go, both diplomatically, in business, and in trade with India at this particular point in time. And
Absolutely.
she can help spearhead that.
I'm going to leave it there, Dean. A lot riding on Anita's shoulders, and she could be that bridge between New Delhi and Ottawa. Something that got broken is in the process of being repaired, but it needs to come to the potential that this relationship actually has to offer. I'm going to shift focus now to the UK, where the Prime Minister is under fire after unveiling those tough new immigration laws and plans that have sparked backlash from across the political spectrum, including from his Labour Party. In a speech introducing the immigration white paper, Starmer warned mass immigration could turn Britain into quote-unquote island of strangers, the remark that quickly drew comparisons to Enoch Powell's infamous Rivers of Blood speech that he made in 1968. It was called racist then and outrageous by many others. If that is a comparison that Labour Prime Minister is drawing, then you can imagine the kind of backlash he is facing from all sides. What does it mean? The tougher English tests, the freeze on hiring overseas care workers. Suspended Labour MP has in fact, Zara Sultana, called Starmer's remarks sickening, and there have been a host of others as well. We are putting some of that out for you viewers to see the kind of backlash that he's actually facing. Will there be some sort of a climb back on that? Will he put some of this in abeyance? Could he look to probably revisit some of those? That's exactly what I'm going to be asking. In fact, joining me on the show, Syed Zubair Ahmed, who's a senior journalist joining me from London to understand. Zubair, just how significant is the kind of backlash that Starmer is facing, and could that mean some sort of a revisit or a pause in some of these plans?
It's very difficult to say if there will be a pause or revising the proposals, which is given in a 69-page white paper. But yes, the criticism is widespread. It is across the board. Politicians from across a political spectrum. You have businessmen, you have social workers, journalists. They're all very, very upset about the speech and what he said, that the Britain would become an island of strangers if net migration wasn't reduced. So I don't know if Mr. Starmer is going to, go back and have a relook at the proposal. But, despite facing heavy criticism, he has defended himself stoutly, saying that, he values the contribution of migrants, but he also has stressed that the arrival must, the new arrivals must learn English and integrate into British society. Now, some of these things that he is talking about it has been echoed by various people here, socialites, social workers, politicians. And this is a sense I get here in this country that the quality of immigrants that's coming into this country is not being liked very much here in England. For instance, they people, the average person on the street here
Zubair,
doesn't mind.
I understand that some of this has to be rooted in some sort of a political feedback mechanism that Starmer and his party are getting. But I want to understand from you that how much of that is related to the rise of Nigel Farage. The local polls that took place on 1st of May, one can dismiss them as being local polls, but they also convey some of the sentiment.
Absolutely. That is spot on. I think one of the reasons Mr. Starmer has taken this stance is because in this month's local election, his Labour Party has done very, very poorly, and Nigel Farage's party has done very well. And even in the general election last year, Mr. Farage's party, even though it was expected to do better than what they did, but they actually rose in terms of the growth was seen widely across the country. So there is this fear among the Labour Party politicians that they have to checkmate Nigel Farage's popularity. And, you know, this is not in isolation. I'm not really surprised at the speech and the proposals put forward by the Prime Minister in the White Paper. It was the Labour Party's election promise to reduce migration into this country, and all over Europe we can see
it is happening. It's a trend.
It is happening. That's the trend, yes.
Yes, sorry to interrupt you there because I'm running out of time, but very quickly, net migration in fact is expected to fall to 300,000 by 2029, and 100,000 fewer migrants are expected to come due to visa changes. Very quickly, I want to understand from you, is there any chance of any of this actually being put on hold given the backlash from his own party?
So far, whatever I have been hearing from Mr. Starmer himself and other his cabinet members who were on the programs this morning in radio, I don't think they're going to budge from that stance.
All right. So, of course, Indians form a very large chunk of immigrants, and they will have to brace themselves for the changes that have been made. Thank you so much, Zubair, joining us from London. Turning attention to another story that's deeply troubling, given the fact that thousands of layoffs have taken place, particularly in the IT sector this year alone. There are reports that suggest that Microsoft is now the latest company to be now announcing massive layoffs across the world. These are cost-cutting drives that are being made. As I said, Microsoft being one of them, 6,000 employees is what they are looking to cut. HP slashed 2,000 jobs. Ola, in fact, cut 1,200 jobs. Salesforce, in fact, cut 1,000 employees off their payrolls this year. And that number, unfortunately, is growing. Remember, this year, it's only been 5 months of this year where about 53,000 jobs have been cut worldwide when it comes to some of these global tech companies. What does this mean from a technology point of view, given the fact that AI could be one big factor for these business decisions to be changing? On that note, completely timed out on this edition of India Global. Thanks so much for watching.
What's wrong with the car? It's okay, lads. I'm with the AA. Bombay mix.
Because the AA has more expert patrols across the country, you'll be back on the road in no time. No wonder more people choose the AA. Join today.
No child should suffer the torture of trachoma. But so many are in pain right now. Nananga's lashes have turned inwards. They rip and tear away at his eyes. Pamelo's sight could be gone forever. He's just 3 years old. Kofanga screams for his mother. His eyes are so infected that he can't even see her. For so many children in the world's poorest countries, trachoma is torture. It's a painful infection often spread by flies, and it's destroying children's eyesight. But it could be stopped if you help today. by calling 0800 021 3925 and giving £2 a month to Sightsavers, you can help make sure children get the treatment they desperately need. You'll help us bring them the medicines and the care that can treat infections. And that means you'll be helping to save children from the torture of trachoma and a life of blindness. Please help us reach them. Call 0800 021 3925, text C7 to 82727, or go online and give just £2 a month now. Because we need you to help save the sight of children like Nananga. We need you to help save them from the torture of trachoma.
Whether you're setting up a new nest, starting your own flock, or